Hello once again and welcome back to IRL FP here in Hungary. Of course we did have some lobby issues. My game, for example, just had an error and my PlayStation just died completely, so I had to restart it. And well, we're back now and we're just getting ready to go into the race. Of course qualifying was completed, so we'll just take the results from qualifying and we will use them for the race. Of course, anyone who was in the top 10 will have to start on the same tire they did before. If you're outside the top 10, then you can do pretty much whatever you want. So, I guess it just remains to be seen what happens. It's been a little bit of a delay, but sometimes these things happen. So now finally we'll be back with the action, especially from the title fight as well. There we go. We have the tweet for the new stream up now. And once again, Erman is going to lead the field away ahead of Nino Romanello, Timer Azim, Matt, Tom Seguyver, Lewis Curtis, Sondre Sorhog in 7th, Rocco Walsh in 8th, Matthew Older in 9th, so of course Rocco Walsh in a bit of a sandwich between the two teammates who are looking to wrap up the Constructors title today. Ross Denham is going to round at the top 10 in 11th, and actually outside of the top 10, just a little mention, everyone on mediums, only the top 5 qualified on softs and got into the top 10, so everyone else on mediums you can say. And Dylan Day, the first outside of the top 10, ahead of Jared Fosbury, Ollie Flavel, Paco Soares, who was serving his quali ban. And then there's Christopher Knight, Matt Romano, and Tom Jewell, who's in 17th. Matt Romano, I don't think he'll be too happy with that. He would have wanted to be 17th, I would think. But once again then, they're going to line up on the grid, and hopefully this time with no issues, we'll be away with lights out for the Hungarian Grand Prix here in the Hungaro Ring. And hopefully in terms of the championship, it's an exciting race and maybe a bit of a fight for the lead as well. As Tom Jewell just gets lined up, we get a green flag. And we can see now 5 red lights to the Hungarian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go. Looks pretty even between the top two. Erminator's going to move over to cover off Nino Ormanello, but he's actually had a great start now, and he's going to pull ahead of the Mercedes. Going into turn one, the McLaren is going to squeeze out Ermin, and he's going to take the lead of this race. Tom Segiver is trying to hold off a few people. Matt is on the outside of him. The Ferrari of Timer Azim looked down the inside. He's lost a few places, as of course he started up in third. Lewis Curtis is looking to go right around the outside of a few people. He's been able to do it. It's actually a crash, as that's Matt. That wasn't Nino Ormanello. He's out. Matt is out of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and surely that's going to cause a full safety car. It's a virtual at the moment. It was quite a significant crash, as you saw, and no safety cars being called out at the moment, so I get the feeling maybe it's going to stick like this, as the top four still on the softs. Of course, one of the soft runners just crashed out, as you saw. Doesn't look like it is going to be a safety car, so probably going through the last corner, I'd say it would come in. Maybe some people might try and take advantage of the virtual, especially if they have wing damage. But going around the penultimate corner, I get the feeling Nino's going to stay out. Pretty much everyone's going to stay out unless you have damage realistically. As now through the final corner, Erminator is going to be looking on the back of Nino Ormanello. He's right up the back of the Welshman, and it looks like Nino Ormanello's going now. The virtual safety car still hasn't been called in yet, as it looks like it's going to go on a little bit longer than they would like. Zerman's going to maybe get a bit of a second chance, but Nino again has bolted. It looks like they're all going, and now the virtual safety car is gone, and Nino Ormanello is going to continue to lead this race. A few sparks actually coming out of the back of Tom Segiver's car, who's lost a little bit of time to the front two, as actually Matthew Walder and Sondre Sorog there, the two teammates, going side by side. I get the feeling Sondre probably just let his teammates through, and now he's going to hold up Rocco a little bit. And of course, in this situation, it would be Matthew Walder's title. Of course, Rocco Walsh needs to be gaining points on Matthew Walder to have any chance of just staying in the fight, really. As you can see, Jared Fosbury and Dylan Day going side by side. Dylan Day gets pushed off the track a little bit, but right around the outside for turn 10 by Jared Fosbury. A little bit wide in the exit, but he's going to be able to keep the position unless Dylan Day looks down the inside as Jared Fosbury cuts him off. And now a much better exit from Dylan Day here, as he's going to go down the inside of Jared, and it looks like he's going to get the move done, as a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit is almost 3 wide. Paco Suarez trying to get involved in this as well on the inside of Wally Flevel, and Jared Fosbury I think is going to get overtaken. A double overtake almost for the Spaniard, as he's on the inside of his former teammate. They've been teammates before in numerous different tiers. He's looking on the inside still of Jared Fosbury. The two continue to be side by side. I would think Paco Suarez should be able to come out on top of this, as we'll see them side by side once again. Round the outside for Paco Suarez in turn 2. Jared Fosbury trying to squeeze him out, but Paco still keeps a foot in there. But Jared Fosbury is going to come out on top and retain that 11th, as Paco Suarez, even round turn 4, is daring enough to try a move, and it's just not going to work out for him, as I'm sure now he's going to have to stick behind in 12th for at least a little bit. As we go back to the fight for the podium places, as Lewis Curtis is closing on Timer Azim. The front two have gapped the rest of the field by over 4 seconds now. As you can see in the background, Matthew Walder trying to make inroads on Tom Segiver. Of course, those medium tyres going to be much better than the softs. The softs do fall off fairly quickly around here. Round lap 10 I think is when you want to pit. Is that out? That is someone out. As we'll try and get, well, actually Tom Jewell is quite far away, as Paco Suarez is involved in that as well, it seems, as he's got no wing. You can see just in the background there on the right hand side of the track, Jared Fosbury is out of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And actually, have they been caught? No, they haven't actually been caught. The safety car was a little bit late, so everyone's going to be able to pit if they want to, as Paco Suarez of course is going to take an opportunity to pit. He had no wing. I think Tom Jewell is probably going to be pitting for mediums, maybe. I mean, he's not going to want to stay in these hards, is he? Well, he is going to stay on those hards. I guess... I don't know why. I wouldn't stay on those hards if I were him. Maybe he's just looking to go another lap because he can. But I'd be very surprised if he didn't take the opportunity to pit. As pretty much everyone stayed out apart from Paco Soares, of course, who pit after that incident. And just a little thing, if Jared ends up in the stream, I wouldn't mind you joining me for comms if you wanted to. But at the same time, I'm sure he's fairly annoyed at the incident that just happened. So, in a way, I'm not sure he'd be in the mood either. As Matt leaves the session after his earlier crash out. Some Segaiver, well, pretty much everyone on softs is going to be pitting now. Nino, Ermin, Timer Azim, and Tom Segaiver all into the pit lane. It's going to allow Lewis Curtis to take the lead of this race. Matthew Walder now in second, so right where he needs to be, especially with Sondre Sorg right behind him as well. As Rocco Walsh out of the points, and Paco Soares out of the points, so in this position, it would be Thunder from Down Under taking the Constructors' Championship, but of course, Rocco Walsh, if he came back through the field, you never know how that could change, but it's certainly a very good position for them to be in, Matthew and Sondre. Lewis Curtis, I get the feeling, would be pulling away from the pack once we get started again. As Tom Jewell again has decided not to pit. As Paco Soares is going to go into the pit lane again. He's on the mediums. I wonder what tire he's going to be going on. Probably another set of mediums, I would think. On go the hards, interestingly. So Paco Soares then looking to go to the end. Rocco Walsh also looking to go to the end, and same with Ermin, who's down in 10th. Of course, he pitted from the lead. And Nino actually jumped. Oh no, he didn't. Nino was leading. Ermin was second. That makes more sense. I think we'll be waiting a while because we'll need to wait till Paco Soares catches up to the grid. As Ermin actually lagged out, it seems. He's just got back into the lobby. So that's good for him. Guess while we're under safety car, I'll check how the championships, the previous championships have looked. So Matthew Walder has taken the last two FP drivers titles, and along with Sondre's teammate, has taken both constructors in the last 2 seasons. So he's going to be looking to do it for a 3rd time in a row, along with Sondre once again. And looking at how the total amount of championships are looking for Matthew, well, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be his 8th driver's title, which is crazy to think about, and also his 8th constructors, because every time he's been driver's title, he's also taken the constructors along with him. And safety car now in this lap, so it's up to Lewis when he wants to go. Of course, he can take this all the way up to the line. He's taking it nice and slow, and now he's gone. Matthew Walder sticks with him. It looks like he didn't really get all too caught out, as they restart, but that Ferrari engine isn't going to be doing him any favours to catch up as they go through turn 1, of course. Sondre Sorg also sticking with his teammate Ross Denham, two Aston Martins staying pretty much where they were as Nino Manello goes down the inside of Matt Romano there. As now Urban is looking to get past Matt Romano as he has quite a big back end loss, as actually Time Regime's going to be able to go through. We'll just see what's happening up front. Matthew Walder still sticking with Lewis at the moment. But I mean, Lewis is fast enough that I think, you know, the difference between the Alpine and the Haas will surely make the difference. As Time Regime now is getting past Matt Romano. Ehrman goes past Matt Romano. Pretty much everyone. Actually, it's a spin for Matt Romano and he's lost his front wing. So that's why he was suddenly losing positions. He wasn't giving them away for free. It was actually a mistake, which has lost him a front wing, and now he's going to have to make his way back to the pit lane. Is this a move? It's Christopher Knight looking for a move on Dylan Day. He's looking down the inside a little bit. He's actually used a lot of his ERS to get to this position as Nino Romanello out of nowhere on the inside of Christopher, and he's going to be able to go up into 6th place. A very opportunistic move. He saw obviously the Christopher was going slow, maybe that he went out a little bit wide as well, and he took his opportunity perfectly to go up into P6. As now he's actually being re-overtaken almost by the Red Bull as he fends him off, Nino Romanello, as they go through turn 10, or turn 11 I should say, as still they didn't have the best exit off of turn 11. Nino Romanello's looking down the inside or on the outside for the penultimate corner almost. He's looking for a move pretty much anywhere, as he's going to be conscious as actually no, what's happened, as in turn 12 the Red Bull's actually gone round. Doesn't look like any damage, but there we go then, as DRS gets enabled. Nino Romanello doesn't need any DRS, he gets past Dylan Day going around the final corner, and now he's going to be chasing after Ross Denham, who's running 4th just behind Sondre Sorog, who's actually lost out a little bit to the front too, and Matthew Walder just about losing DRS range to Lewis Curtis. So DRS activated, but it won't actually be assisting Matthew at the moment at least. As we'll just stick with Nino Romanello, he seems to be a man on a bit of a charge at the moment. Of course, he's got these fresh mediums. Everyone around here has used mediums, and actually Ross Denham's going to get out of the way for Nino Romanello. Didn't look like he wanted to fight it whatsoever, and he's going to yield down to 5th. Nino Romanello making up another place, of course, now looking for a move on Sondre Sorog, which, by the way, in terms of the constructors, as Nino gets very close to Sondre, Sondre is going to defend to the inside for turn 12, and he's going to squeeze out the Welshman as they go side by side again. He's looking around the outside for turn 13, and the switchback to go around the outside of turn 14, the final corner as well, as he's still looking for a move. He's trying to find the grip. He is finding the grip as they go side by side as momentarily yellow flags. As I think that's Tom Zagaiver who's gone round. It's a virtual safety car, and Nino Romanello just about makes that move before the virtual safety car, and he's going to be able to go up into P3 and now chase down the top 2. As I just look down to try and get an idea of what's happened here, as Tom Zagaiver, of course, had some sort of incident happen. Luckily for Matt and Tom Jewell, they're going to be able to catch up to the safety car once again, as they haven't been lapped yet. As a new front wing and hard tyres for Tom Zagaiver. Lap 10 pretty much when the soft runners would have wanted to pit, but of course all of them pit already. So it's just a question of... Well, actually, no, it's not a full safety car, so they won't actually be. I thought for some reason it was a full safety car. Nino Ranello has got a drive-through penalty that he's going to have to serve. He's not going to serve it this lap, but he's going to have to serve it within the next 3. So, not the best penalty to have gotten, as of course running P3 he's going to go right down the grid to probably about 10th, I would say. That's not an overtake. Looks like Dylan Day's struggling a little bit. Timer Azim's closing up to the back of him. Of course, it's, well, much fresher mediums compared to Dylan's. As they go through turn 4, again he goes a little bit wide. But it looks like Sondre Sorog also went a little bit wide in turn 4s. Dylan and Timer both close up a little bit to Sondre. As Nino really pulling a gap, he's really desperate to pull a gap as he's closing up to Matthew Walder. He's probably going to keep pulling a gap what he can and then try and get out ahead of people later on, so I get the feeling he's probably not going to pit yet, but he's going to have to pit eventually, as yeah, he's going to stay out for this lap as well, which when you're in clean air, I guess why not. As out of the final corner for Sondre Sorog, we'll get a rear wing view from Sondre. Dylan Day is going to be closing up to the back of him. Nino, or actually not Nino, sorry, that's Timer Azim, is going to also be closing up, and into turn 1 Dylan Day is going to be able to make the move on Sondre, and Timer Azim may be looking for a move as well, not close enough, as Sondre Sorg just going to lose the 1 position down to 5th now. As now I think he's going to have to do some more defending, because Timer Azim and Ehrman both have pit already as a virtual safety car. That's for Thomas McIver. Thomas McIver now out of this Grand Prix. He's spun at turn 11. And it's just going to neutralise the race once again. Lewis Curtis now into the pit lane. Matthew Walder also going into the pits. Sondre Sorog making his way into the pit lane along with Timer Azim as well. Ehrman is going to be staying out. Of course, he's on the hards. He's looking to go to the end, as everyone else looks like pretty much staying out. As Paco Suarez on the hards, he's going to want to be staying out as well. Ross Denholm isn't going to be pitting yet, it seems, as Tom Jewell is really, if anything, just going to be wanting to close up to the grid. But certainly a pit for hard tyres for Tom wouldn't be a bad thing, as Lewis Curtis has now got a drive-through penalty. As again, for some reason I'm thinking that's a full safety car, but it's not, it's a virtual. So that actually puts Matthew Walder into a net lead, because Lewis Curtis, of course, is going to have to go into the pit lane for his drive-through. Same with Nino. Dylan's going to have to pit. Ehrman, well, no, Ehrman's going to be leading ahead of Rocco Walsh, and then Matthew Walder, who's a little bit back. So it's actually been turned on its head a little bit, the race. Rocco Walsh now ahead of his title rival. As you can see, Ehrman looking for a move on Dylan Day as they go through turn 13, trying to close up. He certainly has the grip. Of course, as he's going to be going through the final corner now, he's going to have DRS. Of course, Dylan Day isn't going to have any DRS, as Nino finally goes into the pit lane for his drive-through. Is he going slowly? Okay, I'm not sure if he is, but Erminator on the inside of Dylan Day, and he's going to pull ahead, and now he's going to be retaking what was once the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and he's going to be going off a little bit into the distance, I feel. As Rocco Walsh trying to make inroads on Ollie Flavel to get up into those podium places, which is where he needs to be if Matthew were to score no points. He needs to be at least third realistically. Well, not even realistically. He needs to be third with Matthew scoring no points today to stay in the championship fight. As Tom Jewell picks up what I think is another 3-second penalty. As Nino also picks up a 3-second penalty. We'll just quickly check. Because actually, no, they're all first time penalties. As a full safety, or that's Tom Jewell. And you can see him on the right hand side. He's out of the Hungarian Grand Prix. A full safety car means Matt will finally be able to catch up to the grid. And now it's going to be very interesting who's going to pit. Dylan Day and Ollie Flavel surely are going to make their way into the pit lane. Surely is the same with Christopher as into the pit lane. Rocco Walsh as well. Very interesting decision from him. As Matthew Older, I get the feeling, would stay out. He's on fresh hards. Why wouldn't he? We'll see Ross Denham going into the pit lane. Paco Suarez also in. All these pit stops should probably be for mediums, as Sondre Sorog is going to be staying out. Of course, in terms of the constructors, it's going to be crucial that he's up in about the top 5, and of course running P3, that's right where he needs to be. And we'll see pretty much everyone else pitting, as Matt Romano in laps is going to really just be closing up and then maybe going on mediums, I think. Or he's going to do the pit stop now. He didn't really need to, because he pits now, he's going to be last. If he pit next lap, he'd still be last, but he'd be able to catch up either way. If I were him, I'd give myself the extra lap. Fresher tires. Especially being on mediums, as he's just gone on to. I would have just pit the next lap and, you know, saved the wear for one of the laps. No disadvantage to it, but sure. Will be interesting as well if the tyre difference between Ehrman and Matthew Walder will play a factor. Of course, the Mercedes is the second quickest car here today. The Haas is by far the slowest. As who's that in? That's Christopher Knight in again. So he'll be dropping to pretty much last. As a 5-second collision with Lewis. I get the feeling Lewis is going to get the same penalty. Just check here. As Lewis has got a 5-second penalty. So I guess that was Lewis going into the back of Paco Suarez. So in that sense, Paco should be allowed to get that removed. As the safety car is going to stay out the extra lap, which will mean Matt Romano will catch up and will be pretty much an entire lap under safety car with everyone caught up, unfortunately. It's going to be a long last lap on the safety car. So I guess I'll just do some calculations quickly. So if it's a 77-point gap, of course it's 15 plus 18. Damn, I don't have a calculator and they're going to be in this lap. So it's a little bit awkward to be doing it. And Erman now has bolted, it looks like to me. Or at least he tried to. Maybe he got held up by the safety car still being there, I'm not sure. But he's going to be able to certainly retain his lead going down towards turn 1. Dylan Day isn't going to be able to make a move on Sondre. At least not now, as of course they go through. As on the inside, Rocco Walsh making up a place on Timer Azim and trying to close up to Ollie Flavel as well as he actually hits Ollie. As Rocco Walsh trying to save his car, he's round in turn 2 and he's going to be down to last place. Really not what he needed. Is actually Paco Suarez now is out of the race as well. I didn't actually notice that. Maybe that's why the safety car happened. I know Nino also DNF'd. Could have been an incident between them two, but Erman, of course, is going to retain his lead. Matthew Alder in second, Sondre Sorog in third. So, in this position, both titles will be won. Matthew will take the FP driver's title, and together with Sondre, both of them will take the constructor's title today. Of course, with Rocco Walsh being in last. Of course, about 5 seconds off, 4 or 5 seconds off the main grid, as Matt Romano's fallen off the grid a little bit. But you can see here Dylan Day using ERS. He's not going to have any DRS going down towards turn 1, but he is certainly closing as we approach the hairpin, and he's going to be looking to make a move. What has happened there? A massive crash. There's a Ferrari out. There's Lewis Curtis also out of this race, as Rocco Walsh is going to go through the rubble. Surely that's going to be a safety car. A massive crash. There was a Ferrari involved. I'm not sure if there was maybe Ollie Flavel involved in that as well, or Ross Denham. It would have been one of them too. Lewis Curtis, it could have just been Lewis Curtis and Timer Azim even as well, I'm not sure. But a massive crash. You could see in the background just about that the Ferrari's car was just doing, it probably did like 360s before it finally came to a stop. So a massive crash, and it allows Rocco to get up into 9th place. Still, I don't think that's enough for the constructors though. As yeah, it isn't enough for the constructors at the moment. As a little bit of a fight here as Ross Denham is on the inside. He's trying to hold up, or at least stay ahead of Christopher, as Christopher has used all his ERS, it seems, at the moment. As Ollie Flavel trying to get involved in this battle as well. He's maybe going to be looking down the inside as he's closing up. He's going to dive it down the inside, try and find some space. but he thinks better of it and doesn't fully commit to the move. As Matt Romano a little bit off the grid as well. He's just sticking within the DRS now of Ollie Flauber, just about, as I think he had lost the DRS a few laps ago, so he's obviously got it back. As now the top 4 seem to be gapping the rest of the field a little bit. Dylan Day continues to pressure Sondre. It looks like Ehrman with the Mercedes power, it's giving him the edge at least to pull away. 2.2 seconds, 2.3 seconds now, the gap between first and second. As now down the inside again, Christopher Knight's looking for a move on Ross Denham. He's almost looking down the inside as well, as Ross Denham goes quite wide, and it's going to allow Christopher Knight to get alongside him once again in the final corner. He's going to be looking for a switchback, gets up on that curb. Don't want to be on that curb because it can very easily spin your car around, but in the DRS now and slipstream, using a little bit of ERS as well, he's going to be looking on the outside, the inside line, surely the better line for turn 1, as he's going to squeeze out Christopher, and Christopher's not going to be able to make the move at the moment, as Matt Romano gets passed by Rocco Walsh there. Rocco Walsh now up into 8th place, 4 points at the moment. Still not enough in terms of the constructors, protecting the constructors. Of course, he has to outscore Matthew by 15 points, or 14 points I should say, if he wants to stay in the driver's fight, and right now that's very much not happening. It doesn't look realistic that it will happen, so he's going to have to beat Sondre, I think. If he beats Sondre, I think that's enough for the constructors to continue. As now Christopher Knight is under pressure from Ross Denham. Ross Denham and Christopher Knight looking for moves pretty much everywhere at the moment. Ross Denham might look for a move on the final corner, as of course they have been side by side a few times, but you can see he went deep and it looks like he's fallen off a little bit and probably not going to get an opportunity. As actually someone who is getting an opportunity, Sondre Sorog, is side by side with Dylan Day. Looks like Dylan Day probably made a move on him, but Sondre Sorog in the slipstream in DRS is going to be able to get that move back, and opening the DRS as well. Second by the Sherry down towards turn 2. And the Norwegian is going to protect his podium in the Alfa Romeo, which for him, I think he probably didn't think he'd find himself there. So for him, I think it's a massive achievement running P3 legitimately, because of course he has made his stop, his final stop, and he's going to the end on these tires. As who's that? Is that Ehrman? It is! Ehrman's gone around, and Sondre Sorog now is going to take second place, so it's a 1-2 at the moment for Thunder from Down Under. And of course as well, I'm sure they would love to take a 1-2 today to really solidify how their season has been. Of course it's been Matthew mainly up there, as down the inside Christopher Knight is going to take the podium now away from Dylan Day, but Dylan Day isn't going to have any of it as he's looking down the inside. Christopher Knight's going to go wide, but the line is going to allow him to get a bit better of an exit, as now crossing over the white line. That's very much not allowed, and I'm going to just take note of that. Lap 23 for Dylan Day, crossed over the white line. Very much not allowed, very much in the rules, and I'm sick of people still at this point breaking the rule. So we'll go on board now. Matt Romano actually getting involved in a little bit of a fight with Ollie Flavel on the outside with Matt Romano, and he's actually going to go up ahead of Ollie Flavel and up into 7th place. Very nice to see Matt Romano making moves, as it's usually him letting people through on safety car restarts and that, and just making moves back on penalties, but he's made a move on track, and a nice one it was. Very nice to see. As now you can see Christopher Knight is looking for a move on Sondre Sorog. Of course, before it was Dylan Day looking for a move on the Alfa Romeo, but now it's a Red Bull, and I think it's going to be a little bit easier for Christopher Knight to make this move, especially with the fact that he's on mediums, as he's going to look down the inside. He's going to dive bomb him almost in turn 12. Sondre won't have any of it. He's going to keep to the outside and stick ahead of the Red Bull. And now going through the final corner, I think this is the end of Sondre being in second place at the moment as he goes wide and gets a 3-second penalty as well. Certainly not going to help his case as the Red Bull is going to be going down the inside. He's going to be coming through as Ehrman's in the background as well. He's going to be looking to recover a podium position at least, as now Sondre Sorg on the back of the Red Bull. But that Ferrari engine versus the Honda really not going to give him all too much, and he's going to have to settle for what is P3 now. Unfortunately, as I'll just quickly check, 3 seconds for both. So unfortunately, Sondre not going to be benefiting on penalties. It's Rocco Walsh now running 6th. Still, this isn't enough for the constructors. And it certainly isn't enough for the drivers, so... I mean, I don't really think there was anything in his mind that made him think that he would be taking the drivers. Because, I mean, it's against Matthew Walder. And, I mean, especially that he's taken the last two in the last 2 seasons in FP. He's been winning F1 since Season 6. And he looks on course to take a win here, to take another championship in style. In the slowest car on the grid, of course. As now Ehrman is looking for a move on Sondre, and he's going to be looking to the outside. He's going to open up DRS, but he wasn't able to make a move there, as Sondre Sorg is going to retain his P3, as of course Ehrman still trying to close up. As you can see, he's got a lot more grip. He's going to be looking to make a move in turn 4. They're just side by side. They're very much equal, as he's going to go right off the track, and he's going to have to settle behind Sondre Sorg, as Dylan Day almost trying to get involved in this, as well as now a spin, and he's lost his wing entirely. Luckily for him, he's not out of the race, but he's going to be dropping down to 7th place, as looks like... Wait, Dylan? Oh, that's Ross. That's weird. I thought it was Dylan who was following behind. I guess not. So now it's Sondre defending from Ross Denham now. As Dylan Day, did he just make a move? It looks like he did. As Erminator, of course, he has no wing at the moment, so he's going to have to just make his way back into the pit lane. Which will actually allow Ollie Flavel to make up a place. As Ross Denham still trying to close up to Sondre Sorg in that Alfa Romeo, but he's holding out this P3 very strongly. And of course, I think he's going to want a podium interview if he ends up taking the constructors today. Especially just anyway, if, you know, taking a P3 in the Alfa Romeo would be quite the achievement for Sondre. As out of the Grand Prix now, Ollie Flavel has crashed, it seems, or he's retired in the pit lane. I'm not actually sure which. I think he may have just retired in the pit lane as Erminator emerges from the pit lane. Yeah, he did do it in the pit lane, Ollie Flavel, so he's going to retire and he's going to get no points today. As now within DRS range, Christopher Knight is going to be looking to make a move on Matthew Walder. Of course, this is the quickest car versus the slowest car. So, in terms of car advantage, it certainly goes to Christopher Knight. But of course, this is Matthew Walder we're talking about. He's got so many championships behind him. As of course, the Red Bull's going to close down towards turn 4. He's going to get quite close and even set the fastest sector 1 of the race. As they go through now what is turn 5, but Matthew Walder still is going to hold out, but you can see how much quicker that Red Bull is, and I feel it's only a matter of time until the Red Bull's able to make a move. His right is actually, he's going to be looking at a move already now. As side by side between the two, Matthew Walder's going to just keep ahead, as it looks like Christopher Knight got another penalty there as they went through turn 9, I want to say. As on the inside now, once again, Christopher Knight he's going to squeeze out Matthew Walder, and he's going to be able to go up into the lead of the race. As Matthew Walder now dropping to second, but of course it's 6 seconds of a gap that Christopher Knight is going to have to pull on Matthew Walder if he wants to win the race. As what has happened to Sondre now? Has he got damage or something? It seems he's had a spin of some sort recently. As Ross Denham's going to be going into the pit lane, Sondre Sorg is going to continue on his way, and he's going to take a P5 at the moment, as now Matt Romano is looking like maybe he could take a podium today. He's only 2 seconds away from it, but that remains to be seen, of course, as 1.2 seconds now already out of the DRS range from Matthew Walder, which you would expect, because of course a Haas versus a Red Bull, especially the Red Bull on mediums, this little Matthew really could have done, I think, in the end. As everyone very spaced out, only 8 drivers left. Of course, he started with 17, so over half the grid has now DNF'd from this race. And of course, with no one really close to each other. I mean, Dylan Day and Ross Denham, there's not too much of a gap between them, so maybe Ross Denham could close the gap to Dylan Day and they could get a bit of a fight between themselves, but I don't really see that happening. As of course now Sondre in 5th at the moment, 20 seconds off the lead with that 3-second penalty as well. Matt Romano is sticking within 3 seconds of Rocco Walsh in case Rocco ends up with a penalty, but Rocco not really one to get penalties, so don't really think he'd be benefiting on penalties on Rocco, so Rocco would probably have to make a mistake if Matt was going to be going up into the podium places. As now actually Ross Denham's closed up fairly significantly. Dylan Day is going to be defending. Of course, it's equal between these two. Both of them have the same performance score of the Aston Martin, so it's just a straight fight between the two. Dylan Day is going to be holding on as Ehrman sets a new fastest lap of the race down in 8th place. He'll be picking up an extra point for that. It's now going through the chicane. Ross trying to make a move. He's looking down the inside. Is actually now Dylan Day's been spun round, and Ross Denham's going to be able to continue and take a P6. I'm sure Dylan Day won't be happy with that. Maybe the stewards would end up looking into that, but at the moment, of course, Ross Denham now got a 2-second gap, and on top of that he's got much fresher tyres, so he's going to be able to pull away pretty significantly now. It's into the pit lane actually for Ross Denham. Dylan Day stays out. As actually Ross Denham now drops to last, as Ehrman of course is on fresh mediums. 5 laps to go in this race, and 5 seconds separates the top two. And we'll just take a look at penalties. 6 seconds of penalties for the Red Bull who's leading this race at the moment. And of course that gap is only really getting bigger between Matthew and Christopher. Wait, what? Why was that? Okay. Yeah, I did select Matt, but it was showing me a Haas. That's weird. As it looks like Erminator is going to set another fastest lap as he just went purple in sector 2, so he's going to be going around the final corner. Currently the fastest lap, as I'll just get it up on the screen, 18.5, and he's going to cross the line and beat it by a few tenths, and 18.2 now the fastest lap of the race. But I think Ross Denham will probably be able to beat that as he just set a purple third sector. Again, it's just glitching out. It's not showing me what car I want. That's who spun. That's Christopher Knight who spun from the lead. And it's going to allow Matthew Walder to go through. And all the work that Christopher Knight has done to get the gaps that he needed is gone, and he's gonna have to do it all again, except he only has 3 more laps? I don't know what I'm saying. After this to do it, as he goes right off the track there. Surely gets a warning for that. As did he get damage actually? Maybe that's why he went wide? Has no damage on that car. So he's going to be closing up again to Matthew Walder, but probably less of a right because those mediums will be going off a little bit now. And it means Matthew Walder's right back where he needs to be to win this race and take the championship with it, the driver's title. In terms of the constructors, 25 points for Matthew, and then taking away the 15 that Rocco will get for the third place, means there's 10 points between them, and then 20 points. They only need to outscore by 15, so that means between Sartre and Matthew, they will take the Constructors' Championship today as well. Unless, of course, Matthew made a massive mistake, but mistakes aren't really something you see Matthew doing. Of course, he made a bit of a mistake back in France in the F1 tier, which actually ended up costing him a win, but in the end, that's his only mistake really that he's done this season, and I don't think he's going to be making any more of course he continues to lead 5 seconds ahead of the Red Bull of Christopher Knight, Rocco Walsh. I'm sure he did everything he could, but in the end it's looking like a third. And Matt Romano actually, a very strong P4 from him. Of course, he started second last, you can say, in 16th. And he's running 4th, so I think he can be happy with that. Sondre Sorog, I'm not sure what's happened to him. I think a spin or something happened earlier in the race, because I'm fairly sure he should have been in a podium position. But he's been running pretty much where he has been for the since whatever happened anyway. As of course we're on to the penultimate lap of the race now. As Ross Denham's closing in a little bit on Ehrman now. As you can see, 1.3 seconds separates them. It's Ross desperately trying to close up, using all the ERS he has as well. Ehrman has plenty of ERS to defend from Ross, so I don't really think he's going to need to do all that much. As now the Red Bull really falling off, 6.7 seconds separating them, so Matthew's only increasing this gap at the moment. So as I did say, those mediums probably would be going off by now, and it looks like that's exactly what's happened. As of course on to the last lap for Matthew Walder. He's done everything that he's had to do. He's kept away from mistakes today, and he's on course to take his third FP title. As of course he goes around turn 3. I don't really think there's anything that's gonna stop Matthew now, and I think in a way he knows it, as of course he just has about half a lap left. So we'll just count really quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, he currently has 7 championships spanning between F1 and FP, 5 F1 championships and 2 in FP. He's rounding turn 12 and he's approaching the penultimate corner. Matthew, of course, he's defending champion here in FP this season. He's going to be coming round the final corner for the final time in Hungary, and he's going to be crossing the line now. Matthew Walder is a 3-time FP champion and takes his 8th championship in IRL. Absolutely unstoppable driver, and of course even in the slowest car he takes his 3rd win of the season. Absolutely dominant performance from Matthew, and you absolutely can't take it away from him. It's going to be Christopher in 2nd. Rocco Walsh is going to take 3rd place, unfortunately. Just couldn't do enough today. Matt Romano in 4th, and Sondre takes the 5th, which means as well as the driver's title, it's going to be constructors for Sondre and Matthew for the 3rd time in a row here in FP. So really congratulations to them two, taking the Constructors' Championship 3 times in a row now, as Dylan Day takes 6th place and everything funnels out. I think it was Erminator ahead of Ross for the 7th spot, as well it's given to Christopher, the driver of the day, but honestly I think it would be more deserving to Matthew Walder, who's going to be stepping up to the top step. He knows he's won. He's going to be lifting the trophy now and spraying the champagne. His 8th title in IRL, and I think he's going to be looking for more. Of course, it's Christopher Knight in 2nd. Rocco Walsh, who fought as long as he could, but just couldn't do it today, who takes 3rd. And we'll just run you down the grid then. Matthew Walder, of course, as I said, takes the win ahead of Christopher Knight, and Rocco Walsh rounds out the podium. Matt Romano, a very strong P4, starting 16th, of course. Sondre Sorog in 5th. Dylan Day in 6th, Ermin in 7th, and as I did say, it's Ross Denham in 8th. And DNFs today over half the grid: Ollie, Timer Azim, Lewis Curtis, Paco Suarez, Nino Ronello, Tom Jewell, Tom Segiver, Jared Fosbury and Matt, all DNFing from today's race. So that's 9 DNFs today. As it's Matthew, then Vantage, and okay, I'll just get them in for interviews then, if it lets me. So I've got Vantage in, I've got Rocco in, and I don't actually know which account Matthew is on, because CRG Blizzard doesn't come up when I search it anymore. So CRG Blizzard, then why didn't it show up? Now I've got everyone in. Just waiting for Matthew and Rocco to get in. There's Matthew. So, okay, then Rocco won't be joining today, so that's fine. Of course, we'll start with you then, Matthew. Today, you've taken your 8th driver's title between FP and F1. Of course, F1 you've won that 5 times, and you've taken your 3rd FP title in the row, so you have 8 now, and therefore 8 constructors as well. So today, taking the win as well, so taking your championship in style, I guess, how does it feel? I mean, the last few rounds now, you can relax, there's nothing else to be won.
Feels great. I mean, getting a win in a Haas, I mean, I know I wasn't exactly the fastest, but I just made sure I kept it consistent, didn't make any mistakes, and it got me the win in the end. Makes 2 wins in a row as well, which is, yeah.
Yeah, and certainly. Of course, you've taken 3 wins in the slowest car. You started in the slowest car, you won the first round, which meant you stayed in the slowest car the entire season. So to take 3 wins like that as well, it's some achievement. And of course, 8 titles, 8 constructors, so it's 16 championships in total that you've taken in IRL now. And you haven't even won F1 this season yet, I don't think. I'm not sure if that's wrapped up. It's probably close to being wrapped up. So certainly more to come from you, Matthew, I think. And I guess for the last few rounds, as I kind of mentioned, would you be taking them easy, maybe starting from the back a few times?
Probably will, I think. I think that'll be fun, so yeah.
Alright then, congratulations on your 8th title, and good luck for what's to come, Matthew.
Thank you.
And then we'll go on to Christopher, of course, who took 2nd. So do we have you, Christopher?
Yep, you do.
Okay, there we go. So, of course, you looked on for the win at one point, but then, of course, your spin basically got rid of any chance that you had, because that 6-second penalty as well. Even if you caught Matthew, it wouldn't have mattered in the end. So, I guess, are you happy with the P2? Do you think maybe that you could have done more? And maybe, yeah, I guess that's the question for now.
Well, I'm pretty annoyed at basically what had happened was I'd just come off the straight. I have really sweaty hands. But try and cool down and shit. Oh, sorry, it's good language. Come out this corner, lost traction. So I'm pretty annoyed at myself for that. But I got damage with that, so that kind of ruined everything, even if I could catch up anyway. Well, at the end of the day, it was a great battle, to be honest. Started near the back, spun round twice before that, and to be honest, it was a great recovery drive. I can't really complain. First race in here, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Not a bad benchmark, I guess.
Yeah, and next race, I'll just check to be sure, is... or is that the same? Hang on. Baku, then Hungary. Yeah, so Bahrain is the next race. So I guess how do you think you do around there? Of course, now that you've taken a second place, you probably won't be in a top 2 car anyway, probably more midfield.
Well, I feel like if I get enough practice and a decent setup, I reckon I could still be with a chance of maybe a top 5.
Fair enough then. Congratulations on your P2 and good luck for next week.
Thank you very much.
And that will round out the stream then. So I hope you enjoyed, of course. And today we witnessed an 8th title, and of course in F1 Matthew could end up taking 9, and that would end up being a total of 18 championships from Matthew in IRL, which is just crazy to think about. And of course you'll have to tune into F1 to see how that pans out. But that has been all from me, and that has been the end of both FP championships. So the last few is really just going to be a bit of fun, I think, in some ways. Still some spots to be decided more down the order. So certainly join us then for 8 PM next week on Wednesday, same time of course. And apart from that, that has been it from me today, Kevin, and goodbye.